Another of the actors, of the international actors, is the multinational corporations or MNCs, that as how we're going to call them. They exist since the 18th century, but increased 17 times after the World War II. After the World War II, we have broke governments. We have governments in bankruptcy. So the multinational corporations started to lend money to the government. They started to give, to bring jobs to all these countries that were destroyed or economic in an economic crisis after the World War II. So they started to build these factories and all these uh, plants of production, and they started to grow and they started to gain to gain importance in society and in history. An MNC has operations in more than two countries. That's one of the most important characteristics of a multinational corporation, that you need to be in two or more. And they're transnational, and they have agreements with governments, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. All this situation after the World War II is one of the most important examples for this type of government agreements. And they can be positive by bringing jobs, by getting better all the economy of the country. But also we have the negative side, like child labor or the sweatlands and all these situations that we mostly see in Asia or in Middle East, with the Nike factories and Puma factories and all these sweatshops where where people are working more than 12 hours a day and they're getting paid less than $1. Another international actor is the mass media. We have they are the information mechanisms that are directed towards the masses. We have TV, we have internet, we have radio, newspapers, books, blogs, etc. They have a global or regional reach. They're not just local, they can be part of the global scenario. And we have examples like Le Monde, Reuters, Al Jazeera, CNN, Time Magazine, Newsweek, The Economist, The New York Times, Associated Press, and all these mass media, all these corporations of the media, they have an influence in global opinion because they decide what to show. They have a very huge power. They decide what to show. They decide what the society is going to receive, and what society should look at, and how they should think. They have a great relationship with the government, but sometimes uh, we have this situation of who uses who. Does the government uses the mass media, or does the mass media uses the government? And now we have international leaders. International leaders are one of the most important actors because they are the face of what society looks for and society follows. They are charismatic and respected leaders that can influence in global public opinion. They have a moral authority and they promote causes. The most important examples and most famous examples that we can think of, the international leaders, we have Nelson Mandela, we have the Dalai Lama, Pope Jean Paul II, Princess Diana, Bono, the singer from U2, Mahatma Gandhi, Bill Gates, the Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Martin Luther King. So we have these different uh, examples of international leaders that can change the world and that can make masses move. Another example of an international actor are the legitimate groups. They're small groups of people with a purpose in common. They're organized society, and some of these groups do not have regional or global reach. They're just established in a local, maybe in a city or maybe in on a state, and they just work with the community. One of the most important examples here in Chihuahua is FECHAC. As the opposite of a legitimate group, we have the illegitimate groups. They are groups of people that doesn't belong to the government and use violence to get their objectives. Here we have the organized crime, terrorist groups, and guerrillas and liberation groups. They have either political or economical objectives, but sometimes we have both. They do use the political and economical side in order to function. Most important examples are ETA, the Spanish terrorist group, and we have mafias or organized crime, all the cartels, El Chapo Guzmán, el Cártel del Golfo, el Cártel de Juárez, Los Zetas, all these criminal groups that we have in Mexico, they're part of these illegitimate groups. And we have the most important example for both, for political and economical objectives of the legitimate groups. We have Las FARC in Colombia. We have two kinds of illegitimate groups: the organized crimes that are international trafficking of drugs, weapons, humans, money laundering, etc., and the terrorist groups that they use violence to get to their political objectives, and their target is mostly government and military. But also we have another kind of illegitimate group that are called guerrilla or liberation groups. Those are small groups of people equipped with light weapons that attack the enemy by surprise. They know their territory, they can run and get lost. Their opponent has more military strength and they have better weapons. But we have the population supporting them. That's the main difference between a organized crime and a guerrilla or liberation group. That population supports them, and the population mostly uh, they have the population's back in order to escape from an army or to escape from the police or the government. Another international actor is the nation. The nation is a group of people that has some or all of the following characteristics: ethnicity, religion, language, customs, history, identity, and territory. One of the most important example for a nation is Mexico, because we as a society we share all of these characteristics. But also there are multinational states like Malaysia, South Africa, or the United States. But also we have nations without a state. One of the most important examples are the Kurds. The Kurds, they were part of Kurdistan, but this country right after the World War II, it disappeared when all the separation and the new world geography came out. So now we have the Kurdos split or um, spread between all the Middle East. We have in Pakistan, we have in Iran, we have in Iraq, we have in Turkey, in Syria. So they have all this situation around. But what are the difference between a state, a nation state, and a nation? A nation, as we already told, they are a group of people that share the characteristics that you see: ethnicity, religion, language, customs, history, identity, territory. A state th- are a state is a group of institutions that govern and control a group of people. A nation state is a nation that governs itself in a territory that the same nation controls. So a nation state is a group of people that has institutions that govern themselves. And these are the international actors. Hope that you understand every concept, and every kind of international actor. On on Friday, we're going to have an activity that will complement this lecture. Please check on Facebook the instructions, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.